ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. You see, how to be spiritual in life. Let us examine. If you have courage and strength to do anything in this world, you may be spiritual. But people who are incapable of doing anything and who resort to beg for alms before a shrine or a temple wearing a uniform, that is not spirituality. If you have to conquer your consciousness and reach the highest peaks of consciousness, then begging will not be of any help. No beggar can reach to that state of consciousness. So, there are two kinds of beggars in the world. Gautama, the Buddha, and the enlightened souls, they are also beggars only for food. They are of the beggars of highest kind and order. And there are other types of beggars who are called plain beggars that you always see on the streets. A king on the throne and a beggar on the street are the same. The beggar begs only for food and money to take care of his day-to-day needs, whereas the king begs for happiness and he wants to fulfill his desire to conquer the kingdoms of others. That is also, the desire is also a kind of begging. So, the enlightened souls and the enlightened masters like Gautama, the Buddha, and others, I mean the enlightened souls, beg from outside only food, and everything else they are self-sufficient within themselves. They are self-sufficient to such an extent that they need no external company of any kind to live in this world. So, to be spiritual means to be an emperor within himself. So, when one is self-sufficient, then he will not seek anything from outside. Then a question arises, why the enlightened souls even beg food from outside? Because there is a holy reason for that begging, because the body, the biological body is formed by the 5 elements in the nature, as you all know. So, being a soul, having realized that infinite divinity which is dwelling within themselves, they don't need anything from outside, and everything is available within themselves because of the dwelling of that infinite divinity in them. But as the body is a composition of outside elements of nature, so to meet the biological hunger, they go outside for food. I mean, to beg for food. So, except for food, they don't seek anything from outside, and they are self-sufficient within themselves in all aspects of life. So, such a person who is an emperor within himself is spiritual. So, others who have not realized that divinity within themselves, they go outside for everything, though they earn their livelihood, that is food. They may not go to beg food from outside. They are self-sufficient in the case of only food. That is why you never see a wealthy person begging for alms, but he goes on begging continuously for all other things. That is the difference between a spiritual person and a worldly person. So, even this begging by the ordinary people who have not realized the divinity within themselves, do you think that they do it consciously? Will any person consciously choose to beg anything from outside? Only an unconscious person can do it. So, that way of seeking from outside is the weakest point of the persons who have not realized themselves. But the persons who have realized the divinity within themselves and who are self-sufficient within themselves, they are self-sufficient within themselves to the extent that they don't even need any company outside, because they are self-sufficient and they start enjoying the company of the self. So, they don't need any company from outside. And when they start living in that realization, then that is the real flowering of spirituality. So, when there is no hankering for anything inside, then they come to know what a love is and what love means. They come to know what joy is. So, when they come to know themselves, this truth of the self, then they can't resist sharing that discovery of joy with others. So, that is when they start sharing their joy and their bliss in various ways to the people around them, then the people around him come to know what the real love and joy is in life, without depending on anything from outside. So, that fact they come to know from the man to whom around, with whom around they are roaming in life. So, but they can also realize that divinity within them if that weakness of seeking from outside is dissolved. So, how can they overcome that weakness? There are two ways of meeting that infinite divinity or God. So, when that meeting point takes place in their life, see, the two ways are, one is to live according to his terms, according to the terms of the God, according to the terms of the divinity, and the other way is to dissolve into that divinity. So, jnana and bhakti means is just this. Bhakti or love towards God means one dissolves himself into the divinity or into God. So, this is bhakti. But there are some pitfalls on the way of devotion or bhakti. What are those pitfalls? The pitfalls are illusions. The point here is, when you are trapped into your own illusions on the way of devotion or bhakti, you will never come to know. That is the problem in the way of bhakti. But what is jnana? Jnana is to become infinite, to realize the God in and around you. That is jnana. So, when you tread the path of jnana, that you will know every step that you take. You come to know, and you come to know also the step of your every growth in that path. So, not only that, any pitfalls or when you are able to fail or fall in that path, that also you come to know. Whereas in bhakti, you will be trapped by the illusions and you may not come to know that you have fallen in a pitfall. That is only the difference between a bhakti and jnana. But both are the ways to reach and realize the God and that infinite and omnipresent divinity. When you make a step, one step forward in any path, the rest, that merciful and compassionate divinity or God will take you into his fold and makes you dwell in his kingdom of joy, bliss and peace. Thank you.